All right, that's far enough.
All right, we are talking about Havoc today. Gareth Evans' new movie on Netflix.
Yeah. Long time coming. This film originally wrapped production in 2021. Wow. What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. They wrapped in 2021. They looked it over and then they realized like, okay, it's going to need a little bit of reshoots. And so they were trying to formulate getting all the actors' schedules realigned because they shot this in Wales. But then what happened is the writer's strike happened, so that delayed things. And then trying to realign everybody's schedules again, they weren't able to go back and do the reshoots until 2024. So yeah, it took a while, but here we are. Finally, a new Gareth Evans movie. And I believe the last one he did was Apostle? Yeah, Apostle. That was 2018.
What? Really? Interesting.
Yeah. That was his sort of horror, not action. There's like some action scenes in it, but it's him doing a horror movie. And then he did Gangs of London in 2020. But then, yeah, after that, I mean, 2025 is Havoc. Here we are, 5 years later, finally a new Gareth Evans film.
What you got for me?
We got footage of our suspect. Do you know him?
Gareth Evans, obviously known for the raid movies, and for our purposes, you know, he's very martial arts adjacent, a very well-known name now, and a household name in the martial arts sphere. But in terms of general action, now I start to equate him more with like what I see in Gangs of London, and this is Havoc is just like that in that sense. Like you can tell it's a Gareth Evans production, but it's like missing that fight scene flair, with the exception of one scene, if even that, in this film, right?
Yeah. So going into this, I assume because it's Gareth Evans, this would be a martial arts movie. That is not the case. It's not martial arts,
right?
Per se. There is choreography to be had. There's a lot of struggling. There's a lot of evasion, and then working around the environment. So there is that sort of choreography. But when it comes to straight on hand-to-hand combat, it's not exactly that. But there are moments of people throwing down and fighting each other, but it's not. I would never say there's like a lot of fight scenes in this.
This movie is much more like, you know, his more recent productions, right? You know, they're you know, obviously still very action heavy, still very you know, he has a very signature look, especially when it comes to like I hesitate to call them shaky cam. It's like a trembling cam. It's like the cam like trembles.
Cam,
earthquake. But like you can see exactly what's happening. It just feels like the cameraman is just like,
well, the ground is shaking underneath it, literally.
Like his feet are shaking, but he's still trying his best to like stabilize it. Like it's a very signature look of his movies. But in terms of everything else, it's more leaning towards general action. A lot of environmental damage and that nature.
Well, what he was trying to do with Havoc is his influences are very obvious here, as he's kind of stated in some interviews. So he's going more for an American crime story, and also mashing that with Hong Kong style heroic bloodshed. Very influenced by Johnny To, John Woo, and Ringo Lam.
Yeah,
is what you cited. So that's what this is. Havoc is like a mashup of his influences. Interestingly enough, it is an American story, but they shot it in Wales. I love.
You can definitely see that.
I love how it still kind of feels like the East Coast. It feels like Gotham City. even though we know
sure.
it's not Chicago, Detroit, or
Yeah.
Seattle or something like that. It there's remnants of what American cities look like, but we know that it's not the case. And I think that's really interesting because it gives it its own feeling, even though they didn't shoot in America.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does have that setting, and you're like, okay, this is just somewhere big metropolis America.
Metropolis,
I don't know where it is, but
Dirty
yeah.
metropolis.
Yeah. So it's just New York.
Sure.
This is one of those few films where out of Gareth Evans' catalog that's like very reliant on CG, like both for the action standpoint, but also like just the setting, not detracting it at all. Like it's very much just part of the look.
I saw a lot of people kind of debating whether or not they liked the kind of CG look of the city because yes, they can't do these certain car chases in a real city the way they want to do it with that intensity. So the opening car chase scene is actually almost all digital. Some people cite it kind of looks like a little video gamey, but the thing is because he's also trying to hide the fact that he's shooting in Wales, there's lots of digital trickery going on in the background for some of these set pieces as well. So strangely enough, we can tell that it's all digital, but I think it overall works with the color correcting he's doing, the lighting, and the overall tone. It's a very, very dark movie when things are happening at nighttime.
Action! Havoc is a real high-octane, fast-paced action film. There was always a focus on storytelling through action, character through action.
Well, okay. So with all that being said, story. Holy crap.
A little complicated, right?
Oh my God, it's very complicated.
Just a little bit.
Even by the end of the movie, I'm like, wow, I feel like I must have missed a story beat because it's like I understand what's happening now, but man, there are so many moving parts and like understanding how. Okay, let me just kind of verbally explain what I've understood of the movie, right? So there is Forrest Whitaker is the current mayor, and he has a son. He gets framed for the murder of a triad leader, played by Clarence Fong. Her son is murdered in some sort of assassination attempt, right?
Yeah.
Well, not an attempt, an actual assassination. Yeah. And we don't actually know who the murderers are, right? But the Forrest Whitaker's son is the prime suspect. So now everyone's going after him, right? But meanwhile, our main character, played by Tom Hardy, he's trying to break off ties with Forrest Whitaker for like other reasons. Because he has some dirt. He's also a crooked cop. All the cops in the movie are crooked, basically. Tom Hardy is no exception. He just wants to be have all his debts paid off, like his
he wants to be done with doing favors for Forrest Whitaker.
Exactly. Yeah. So his last duty is to bring his son back safely, and there are people who are coming after like Forrest Whitaker's son. I'm explaining the non-spoiler section of this because if I go into spoilers, it gets way too complicated, and I don't feel the need to talk about that.
I make one phone call, you go down for life. Get him back.
I wouldn't say it moves super fast, but there's a lot of details, and
I think it does move fast because an interesting tidbit that happened when this movie was first posted onto IMDb is that it was originally a 2-hour and 30-minute runtime. And the runtime now, I believe, is like
just under 2.
It's like an hour 50 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So I think a lot of it was cut off, and it's very brisk and very speedy in getting us from scene to scene to scene to scene. And you really kind of have to pay attention to the dialogue because I think they made note to just make sure every line of dialogue is actually really relevant. And that's kind of where some of my issues with this story lies, is that you don't really get to build a lot of these characters because they really have to get this plot moving forward.
Right.
And so, okay, Tom Hardy is a crooked cop and you don't really like him. He's always at a distance with his partner and very blunt with her. And so when you're going for character arc, like, what do you have? He's just a crooked cop who wants to clear his names. Like, that's as like simple as you get.
Yeah.
And then what else could you do with any of these other characters? Like his Forrest, I feel like Forrest Whitaker is like one of the few people that get like a whole character arc from when you first meet him and what he wants to the end when he's trying to protect his son. Like, that's like the better of the character stuff. And then everybody else, they're just along for the ride. You don't really get personality from them too much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even Tom Hardy's character, I mean, he's not even a lovable asshole. He's just like not a good character. And that's fine, I guess. Like he's you know, obviously a crooked cop, but you're just kind of along with him. And yeah, and as a character, and it's I guess it's permissible because like you still got to root for him. He's not the absolute worst. You still are like wanting him to like get through to the end unscathed. And then towards the end, I actually felt like he starts to disappear from the movie story wise. He's just kind of like you said, like he's just kind of there along for the ride. And towards the end, when we get to our big action spectacle, I'm like, you don't even need him in there. It's like he's not really important.
You do, because it's a super intense escort mission by the end,
right?
And he's
but story wise, he doesn't need to be there.
That's true. He could have died in the home invasion scene at the end, and it would have mattered because the story actually would have kept on going with these other characters. So you're right. He actually doesn't. He literally disappears from the story.
Yeah.
At least, but he's there because he's the main character.
Yeah.
We need to fully resolve his arc in that, you know, he doesn't like being the crooked cop, even though it's what pays the bills, and he's trying to get out from underneath Forrest Whitaker. So, you know, you can see what's going to happen with him in the end, ultimately. So that's the only real character moments we have with him.
So what the idea being that every so often you can land on Walker and go, do I believe he would exist in the real world? If he could exist in the real world, then turn him turbo in this world, if that makes sense. So the idea was to try to find something authentic and then play with it.
Yeah, action-wise, it takes us a little bit of time, and I was getting a little bit of worried waiting for the action. But when we finally get to the club, oh boy, it just explodes with action finally. And that segues us into talking about action.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about generally speaking, but I mean, won't talk about every action scene, but yeah, that club scene, it's like, wow, this is giving me feelings of the Raid 2 again, and not in terms of quality, but in terms of like, wow, I forgot what it's like to like sit down and just watch a Gareth Evans production, and it's just like so relentless that you're just like, I need to breathe. Like, I forgot what it's like to be able to breathe in the scene, because it's just like over the head. There's like nonstop action, and every time like you think that it's gonna die down, like they're gonna get out of this, like nope, just keep going, like more piling on.
Well, I like that because it's funny because it's one location and you would think, oh, this is going to get kind of boring, but they keep on escalating the issue. Like they're trying to escape the club. It's the gangsters and it's the cops converging on them, and they're fighting the two factions, and they're desperately trying to defend from both sides. And then you think, oh, okay, they're going to go out the front door. Oh, no, there's machine gun fire everywhere. They got to go back into the club. And it's funny because it keeps on escalating. And like you said, it feels like you can't breathe. Like there's little moments where like, okay, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? And then, oh, eruption of gunfire.
Feels like our characters have the most plot armor out of anything that he's ever done. My God, like, wait, listen, like when you think about Iko Uwai's escaping, just with the skin of his teeth, right? In the previous movies, I can only buy it because like we have tight corridors. Sometimes like he'll like go from one room to the next, like just barely surviving, right? But here it's like we have one action scene that takes place in a cabin. I'm like, how is it that these three guys, these three main characters, are getting away without even a scratch on them? It's like, yeah, like it's still intense. Yes, like they're still struggling, but the fact that like they're just able to handle that many people coming at them all at once, like it's just very unbelievable.
Yeah,
in the manner that's executed.
You really have to suspend your disbelief because they are surrounded by multiple assailants with automatic weaponry, and they just have a shotgun and a pistol, and they're hiding behind wood. You have to just kind of turn your brain off and just say, okay, sure, they're the heroes. Like you said, they have plot armor, and there's so many times when they fall to the ground to duck, and you just see the eruption of CGI bullets around them to make it feel intense. But at the same time, I'm wondering, like, oh, come on, like there's just no way. There's no way they would survive it. I wish they could have addressed that a little more organically, but at the same time, it's still intense and it's fun. So I kind of give it a pass.
There's a freedom that's completely different. You can't just decide to improvise in the middle of a fight scene. It is what it is. It's really specific, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's everything.
And there's a way of bringing some characteristic to it, but it is working within the parameters of that, isn't it?
It's completely controlled. So that chaos, all of that is chaos.
Yeah.
None of it is extraneous.
No.
I don't know if I want to continue saying I want to see him go back to doing martial arts movies anymore. We get a taste of that. Michelle Waterson, former UFC fighter, is in the movie, and we get a taste of it. It's like, oh yeah, but it's nice to see like an actual hand-to-hand fight scene. But like,
it's Tom Hardy's stunt double getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
not really fighting back, but it is a good display of kicks and just beating up a man. So,
yeah, but it's like what, a couple seconds long.
Very, very short lived. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any sort of choreography is really going to come from any sort of group struggle.
Mm-hmm.
When it's people just trying to evade these multiple assailants coming at them. Very similar to The Raid, where that's kind of like action horror, like Resident Evil 4 Village sort of horror. But the choreography is like usually just like wild blows, wild slings. Tom Hardy just picking up dudes and slamming them down. Very, very brawlery.
Yeah, very brawlery.
He doesn't go into the multitude of combinations like Iko or Yayan would do. So if you're looking for that, that is not what this is. But this is still, I mean, I can see Gareth Evans just going with this style kind of like for the rest of his career almost. Like
probably
if like he doesn't want to do martial arts fight scenes anymore, like I can see him like making this his new style.
So Havoc is going to be me unleashing the last 3 or 4 years of not doing something really big scale with action, and I couldn't be more thrilled to make that film next.
If you're a martial arts fan, I wouldn't say go flocking towards his movies just because you want, good fight scenes, but he still makes very intense action movies. And this one, I'd recommend it more of his recent movies or recent productions. Recent, I put that in quotation because he hasn't done anything in quite some time. Because like this is an easy watch. So it's an easy afternoon watch. Like go and watch it. Mm-hmm. I guess that's my recommendation. What were you?
Yeah, no, I was very, very worried. I tried to really, really lower my expectations because he's done really great work in the past. And I was really happy because, like you mentioned, it's really easy to sit through. He's got Jude Poyer on action direction, and I think their pairing still works really well here, where John Woo and Philip Kwok, where they were kind of orchestrating bullet ballet with Hard Boiled and the Hong Kong action scene. It almost feels like Gareth and Jude Poyer are doing like a bullet mosh pit, and they're just because it's just a flurry, like a non-stop flurry of bullets on screen. So it's still exciting to watch, even though like you heard our nitpicks here and there. I still very much enjoyed it. So this is an easy recommend for me.
But it's with all nitpicks with love, Zero. They're all nitpicks with love.
Kill them all.